Hello, good morning, and welcome to your Daily Game Face. I am Dr. Kim Lannon, coming back after a lovely hiatus of a week because Lou went on a wonderful, well-deserved vacation that he hasn't had in all the years I've known him.
Not because we were having a fight.
And not because we're having a fight, much to everyone's probably either happiness or not. I was telling Lou that people over the past week and a half have been like, "What's wrong with you and Lou? Are you guys fighting? Are you guys not okay?" And I said, "No, that's just our dynamic. That's our banter." So people think that. So Lou, people think that we're fighting.
I don't know what to make of that.
People think that we're unhappy with each other.
We're just New England born and bred. This is how we interact.
Snarky, sarcastic. That's our love language.
That's right. Exactly.
That's our look, do you see my little hearts that came
I
in?
did. I didn't know it did that.
I didn't either. That's pretty cool. I'm gonna do that again. Oh my God. The little things in life that make us excited. So
Be careful about other gestures. Who knows?
I know. Let's practice that later. So just for everyone's knowledge, if you haven't been following Lou and myself since 2019, we have a loving, caring, amazing relationship, and we're very good friends. And on the air, we have a loving, caring relationship where we get a little snarky and bantery, but we do that offline too, and it's just normal. And so for everyone that wants to know, that's what we do.
Yep. Well, good.
It's all good.
Just like you said, I thought we were good the last 3 or 4 shows. So
well, see, and I said 8 shows. You said 3 or 4, so now we're gonna have a fight.
Oh no, I'm not gonna have a fight.
God. Swords up, baby. Okay, so good morning. How are you? How was your vacation, my friend?
Vacation was good. It was relaxing. It was a fun time.
Excellent.
Warm weather, palm trees, and just hanging out.
But food sucked.
Some of it sucked. We found a way around. We found the places to go and a way to get around it and what to eat. So, but there are a couple of restaurant stops. It was all inclusive, so that explains it all.
That's right. Well, yeah. Right.
But the restaurants, they have restaurants and a buffet, and the restaurants for the most part weren't great. But the buffet was fine. You could find something at the buffet.
We won't out what the place is, but if anyone knows me,
I would recommend it. Actually, it was great. The resort was beautiful.
The resort is beautiful, but the whole chain needs to be revamped. I actually stayed in the same place in New York City 2 weeks ago.
Really?
I did, the same chain. And I have a very funny story about it. But when I checked in, this is before we get into everything. When I checked into the hotel, I was with friends, and it was a girls' weekend, and we were there for a show and et cetera, and Christmassy stuff. And and the woman at the front desk, it was under my name. She wanted to know why there were 3 of us. Why did we need 2 beds? And she wanted to know why the third person had not been listed on the reservation, like the name, just the third person was there, but right. But still it was perplexing her as to why we needed 2 beds. And I won't say everything I said on air, but I got very comical, and my girlfriends were on the floor rolling because I went with this in a big way because she could not relent on why we needed more than one bed in the room. And she was very confused. And then she was mortified because then it hit her that she did a faux pas. And I'm just like, I ended up saying something very specific about we'll go upstairs and let you know how it works out.
We're drawing cards.
Yeah. So it was very entertaining, just to say the least. And
for the most part, the staff down there was very good. For the most part, in fact, the staff at the hotel was very good. The only problems I had were people who weren't necessarily associated with the hotel. So, but it was.
They usually don't let people on the resort if they're not associated with the hotel. But
no, it had to do with there was a money exchange person, and I don't think she was really associated with the hotel. She wasn't great, but
Well,
But
there
the
you go.
hotel was very helpful. You're right, the rooms need to be redesigned now. The rooms are awful designs.
Across the board, all over the world in that particular chain, no matter where I've stayed, they all need to be revamped. They did one in Cabo San Lucas a few years back, and they revamped it, and it's much better. But they're all old. They're all dark. So anyway, nobody knows what we're talking about, so it doesn't matter.
Yep. It was
So
good. It was a good time. It was good to
yes,
take a week where I had nothing to do.
there you go, and I'm glad you did that. Good. Well, while you're away, I got sick. I have a
Oh,
lovely cold, so
oh,
I'm out of there today. And let's see what else happened. Oh, I won't I'm not going to tell that story yet. I'm going to
no?
hold the one I shared with you right before we went on
Yeah, I
air.
know, right?
Just
Oh,
hold.
by the way,
I said, "Oh, by the way," and then you were like, "What?" So, yeah, I'll wait on that one. So anyway, so this is the third part in the final in the series of well, it's actually the fifth part because we started with trauma bonding, two two
true.
p- two parts, and then this is the third part to the narcissism. And everyone's been waiting for me to just give the what are ways to manage yourself when you're in a narcissistic relationship. So I have a plethora of things.
Nice.
And what has come out of this first set of series of this is people keep saying, but what if a narcissist can change? And what if, so I go back to the same thing, just as like a recap for people on the whole thing. So I want to just go. So, first of all, the narcissist is not listening to you and they are not self-aware. So, as the recap, let me just go through this like 4 or 5 point list. The narcissist isn't listening. They listen to speak, not to hear.
Right.
So they're not listening and they're not self-aware. And people are like, how can someone not be aware? Like if you're an aware person and then you're mostly surrounded by people that are aware, and then all of a sudden you have this person that's narcissistic, even on a continuum a little bit, and they have a little bit more than the next person, they typically are not consciously aware of it because it's so insidious to them. So it's mind-blowing. It's kind of like talking about addiction. If you are not an addict or you're not someone with an ism, for instance, it's very hard for you to wrap your head around how come they can't stop? How come they can't put it down? How come because you can't wrap your head around the fact that it's a dopamine rush beyond dopamine rush. It's so intense in the brain that it bypasses all reason, logic, and rationale. So here it is. They're not listening to listen, and they're not self-aware.
Well, they're
And
not self-aware, but you get to the point, there's a switch flip point where if you try to make something clear to them and really put them on the spot, they get angry.
well,
Y-
yes,
Yeah.
right.
There's
And
no in between. It's either they're not getting it or they get it to an extent and they're kind of cornered and they feel cornered and react.
and it's always, my nevers and always, it's always reactive. It's not responsive. It's defensive, right? So because they cannot stand, this is they being narcissist and heavily narcissistic people. Now we're not talking across the extreme. We're talking about, not the run of the mill. We're talking like, okay, beyond the standard deviation, like 2 and 3 out, right? They cannot stand being told that they have behaved badly or that they've done something to hurt you because they have the ego strength of a flea. So they cannot manage that. And so when they do that, they have to find a way, I call it tit for tat, like, well, you hurt me. Well, you did this to me. Like, so there's always a reciprocating like back and forth because they cannot stand having that told to them. They are in response, not response, reaction. They are 99.9999%, which is 100%, they're going to gaslight you. And if they're not gaslighting you, which is emotionally maneuvering you and to, making you crazy made or making you think you're wrong or self-doubt or all those things, they're going to insult you and put you down, belittle you, make you feel like you've done something wrong. So you second guess yourself. And it will come in different forms. It's not all or nothing here. So it can come in very subtle forms. And they love it. When I say love, big LOVE, they love it when you get angry because it fuels their supply,
Yep.
because they want you to join in their anger and they want you to join in their chaos. And I call it the chaos loop. It's like a figure eight that's a chaos loop of infinity, that as long as you're in the loop with them and you can if they get upset and you get upset with them, and your upsetment gets more, they love it. The chain just keeps going.
Yep.
And the more you try to justify, and I think I talked about this, but it's been 2 weeks, but did I do the JADE acronym?
Yes.
Right. So the more you justify, argue, defend, and explain to a narcissist, it in an effort to change their behavior, to prove that you're right, to prove that they have done something or to hurt, the more it charges them up and the more you're going to get less.
Yep.
So that brings us to the show today, how to manage conflict with a narcissist, and not do those things to get that going. First of all, people like, can they change? If your goal is to change a narcissist, you are in trouble if you're in that
Yep.
mindset, because just get that out of your mindset. It's not going to happen. You cannot change a narcissist, and they will not change just because you want them to. Similar to addiction, because it's like an addiction in the brain. Addicts, and I'm saying that with all due respect, people who are in addiction, I should say, are not going to change unless they want to change. It has to be painful enough. Many people who have addiction will change because they hit their bottom. Narcissists don't hit their bottom.
Right.
They just don't have a bottom. They're just inherently characterologically flawed to the point where they're so well defended that that's not something that they're interested in, because it's not something that comes to them. Whereas as someone who has addiction, they could end up, homeless, no finances, their marriage or their relationships break up, they lose their children, their job. And like narcissism, people just jump to the next thing, which brings me to your question before we started. Had I ever heard of the term monkey branching?
Yeah.
So monkey branching, yes. So for people out there that don't know what monkey branching is a very common narcissistic quality when someone is in a relationship and they are struggling in the relationship because they're being called out, or the relationship isn't going well because the other partner is like, you're a narcissist and whatever.
Behind the curtain too much. Yeah.
Right. The monkey branching is people with narcissism will make sure that they're finding another relationship in the chute. They'll already have one going. They'll be swinging to the next branch, so that when the other relationship ends, and essentially they're going to be able to say, well, it wasn't me. I tried everything I had, whatever. They blame and shame the other person, but they've already moved on to their next supplier. So they've swung to the next branch, and they've already got one in the chute. They've already got another relationship there. And most, not all, most full on narcissistic people will monkey branch.
Yep.
Because they actually have a need to not be, they no aloneness. They have to have a supply chain, and it has to be comparable to the one that they had to get it going.
And they're constantly nursing that chain, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily romantic relationships, but supply and just adoration. They're just constantly keeping people involved in that.
Exactly. Whether it's, it can go all the way from like the actual full blown romantic relationship, as the monkey branched person, into waitresses, people at the gas station, people at the grocery store, people in the local, Dunkin' Donuts. They will monkey branch enough people to keep the supply going until they land on a new one that will fulfill them heavy enough, until they shape that person into yet another victim, essentially, of the problem. Which makes sense, because they need supply, right? Because there's an ego death, right? Your reality manager is your ego. There's an ego death without the supply going. And
Right.
it's really, and that's when you see a person who gets really angry, is because their ego is compromised in their mind. It's just perception, right? So
Generally, narcissists are generally popular people.
pretty
They're
much,
large groups. Yeah.
yeah, they're usually very popular, and but they're not able to maintain the popularity with the same people over time.
Right.
They can hold it only for so long because they get seen through. They're very transparent because they're so charismatic. They're so a person of interest. They're so whatever they are, to make them seem amazing, but people see through it, and it becomes very vanilla and boring. And it's easy then to go, there's something up with this person, because this person, especially with like really overt narcissists, not everybody, they're the one-uppers, oh, I went to France, and they're like, oh, I've been there 5 times, like the person that has to just, and, they haven't, or, oh, I flew on an airplane, and this person will say, oh, I went hang gliding, and they've never been hang gliding. I say that as a reference to somebody that actually said that to me, which I knew they weren't. hmm So, okay. So in managing, I just had to look away because I hear a cat. Managing conflict with a narcissist is not about confrontation, and that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is because they confront. Um, and and this is a hard concept that I teach in my with my clients. Is it's about your own self management, um, because you have to have self managing techniques for you so that it's less damaging to deal with them, and it will save you, um, and protect you from them stealing from you. I call it like emotional theft.
Right.
When you engage in confrontation or fighting or arguing or defending, all those things, you're actually giving away your boundary of of everything that you need to do for you, because you're too invested in trying to convince them that they are doing something wrong, they're hurting you, and all these things. And so the first thing always is you have to set your own boundary. And again, I've berated this to death over all my shows over the years, because it's a health and wellness issue, is that setting your own healthy boundary for you in a relationship, whether it's a romantic one, your family, friends, whatever, you have to determine what limits you will and will not allow to be crossed. And that is super important. And there's so many different ways that that can happen, but it's about what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not, and being able to not feel guilty about walking it back. One of the things, I've had conversations over the past couple weeks about people saying, I feel so guilty because, I don't want to hurt their feelings. They said, they're not thinking about your feelings. They're not worried about what you think and feel. They're not, you feeling like they're going to perceive you as being bad or doing something wrong. They may tell you that you're a terrible, awful person. They may tell you that, you've done something wrong. That doesn't mean you have. That just means you've gotten to them. And you have to be able to say, oh, because my boundary was set, they're not happy with me. And that's okay. But you have to be able to learn to sit with them not being okay and uncomfortable. That's not your problem. But people are so trained, especially women, we are trained heavily into feeling guilty, like we've done something wrong. I
Yeah.
have to I have to laugh for a second. I have a cat trying to push past my computer. Hello. Hello, he's coming to visit me. He might pass in front of the camera in a second. Oh, wait, we're gonna do lap sitting.
The benefit with a non-romantic relationship like this, setting boundaries, is they'll search for other supply. They'll just move on.
Well, that's the monkey branching, right?
Yeah.
Is that they will monkey branch, if you are not gonna give them, I mean, it will take some time usually that they, oh, here we go. Sorry. Here's a child. Look at, there's my child.
One of the is a sister and brother.
That's the brother. It's Ash. So the monkey branching will start, even if it's subtle, it will start, because at least they'll get something somewhere, right?
But in non-romantic relationships and familial relationships, for example, that's good because they'll just transfer their attention to something else.
They do, but when it's when it's not a romantic relationship or a marriage or like something like that, it's much easier because they move along,
Yeah.
right? Sort of. I
And they
mean,
flying monkey you.
they what?
They flying monkey you.
They flying monkey.
They
I
send the flying monkeys.
Yes, they flying monkey you instead.
Mm.
So, and those relationships tend to end quicker, and it's easier to kind of get rid of them, especially like coworkers and except for people that are people pleasers. So if you're a people pleaser, which
Yeah.
many people who get pulled in, occasionally there's not people pleasers who get pulled in because I would say, because I was stupid. You're not stupid, but because your guard was down, right? It's not, but that's what people say. I'm so stupid. I'm like, you're not stupid. Your guard was down.
Yeah.
Because you can be a very, very smart person and just be like, I would never have gotten taken, but that person was so charming and so charismatic. So as a friend, so yeah, so being able to set that limit, and those are going to be different for each type of relationship, what that is. And people have been asking me specifically, and I'm like, I can't tell you specifically. It depends on each relationship. Leave him alone. Hold, please. I have to take care of a child issue. I'm about to have a cat fight in the back here.
I
Okay. I know. Okay, he wants attention.
Cats
So
are all narcissists, by the way.
cats are
Yeah.
okay. Oh, he's not a narcissist. He's a good boy. See, he can be bad, and then I can tell him he's a good boy.
Yeah.
Rather have a cat. Just leave him alone. Okay. Now it's like what I do all day. Leave him alone. Stop. Don't
Yep.
touch him. Get your hands off of him. Stop. Okay. You're destroying my show. Get down. Okay. Hey, there'd be nothing better than to have this. Oh, you guys are going to hear a lot. It's
Yep.
about to scream. Here we go. Okay. So beyond the boundaries, next thing, because we have a whole bunch. Practicing self-care. People are always like, "Oh my God, that's so stupid." No, practicing self-care is really important because you have to, it's not about like just taking time to go get your nails done or take a walk or anything like that. It's how to really take emotional, physical, and spiritual care of yourself. And that could be removing yourself from a situation. That's a boundary, and it's self-care. Going out for a walk, yes. Going out and exercise, obviously, right? But those, massaging, going to like joining a club, joining a class, doing other things that have to do with not being around the narcissist.
Yeah.
So if you're in work and you're in a work environment where you have a boss that's a narcissist, or you have a coworker that's a narcissist and they take they suck your soul, finding those kinds of things as a way of disconnecting, detaching, and shutting it off is such a good practice for you. And then if you're in a romantic relationship where you have to do that, this is one of the hard, I mean, they're more, when I talk about this a lot, it's more about the romantic relationships because they're so prevalent,
Right.
and it is really a much bigger issue than I've seen in a long time, especially I don't know, in the past 10 years. I see a lot of people that have these issues. Um, Practicing self-care doesn't mean just doing it once in a while. It's literally starting to kind of live your life. And I know this sounds weird. It's to live your life, although you might be married or live together, you're going to live your life as if you're living separately, even though you live in the same house together. Doesn't that sound weird?
Yeah, it does, but I understand.
But that's what has to happen because, and here's the thing, people, unfortunately, I have clients that will do this thinking, well, if I do this, it will bring that person back to me. And if you're going into it thinking that it's going to turn them back to you, don't think that, because that's not going to happen. What usually happens is when you start practicing self-care and setting boundaries and doing the things I'm telling you, it usually makes the narcissist much more angry and upset. And for a while, they might miss you, or they might start feeling like they might act out when you do something, like if you go away, or if you go do something that's you typically would do with them, but you do it with someone else, or you do it on your own. They will they will create a situation where they will get upset. You have to, here's the next piece. You have to know that, one, it's not your fault, and it's not your responsibility to take care of their emotions around the fact that they can't handle that you're now taking care of yourself because they weren't able to be there to be a partner with you.
Right.
So practicing self-care is a bigger space. It's like finding structure in your time, is um, replacing with what you would be doing normally with them, maybe fighting, right? Maybe you spend your Friday to Sunday fighting because that, Monday through Friday you work, and then all of a sudden Friday, Saturday, Sunday you have all this time with this person, and it ends up being about a fight of wills. Don't. Figure out, what are you going to do Friday night, Saturday? Live your life in your separate ways, and until you can figure out, especially like you have kids. I have clients that have kids that do this. They don't want to get divorced, they don't want to leave, or the partner who's the narcissist doesn't want to leave or won't leave because it becomes
Yeah.
a thing. You've got to figure out how to live your life on your terms without it becoming a problem for you.
But
Um,
it threatens the supply, so there's gonna be blowback.
Well, that's the thing, is when you are not doing what they want, when you are not participating in their chaos, right? Specifically, it's really about not participating in their chaos. They have a very difficult time, and there's usually blowback. And while there's blowback, each time there'll be a little bit less blowback because they're probably monkey branching,
Yep.
because they're realizing that you're not going to be there. So they're trying to figure out a way to supply chain themselves because you're not just automatically being there. This is not easy, by the way, to do this. It takes time if you are been in a long term. Like I have a couple that's been married for 30 years, and the wife has just started doing this in the past 3 or 4 weeks. And she's like, this is so hard because it's not changing. I'm like, because you think it's going to change him
Yeah.
to make it better and you have to do this for you. You can't do this for him. You were gonna, oh, did you say something though?
No, that's the first realization is it's not going to change them. This is all, whatever you do for self-care is actually self-care. It's not about them. It's about you.
Right. And it's not in an effort to get them to come back to you in the way that you knew. If you have that in mind, you have to get that out of your mind. Um, the next thing, like knowing it's not your fault, right? You have to tell yourself that you are not too sensitive, you are not too needy. You have probably been told that, you know, you don't have to feel, you don't need to feel this way. You're over the top. You're overly sensitive.
You've
Why do
been told a lot of things.
you what?
You've been told a lot of things. So
Right, exactly. You have to know not to personalize it, because the personalization is a gaslighting tactic of like, look at how you are, look at how you're being. Um, don't worry, you'll be okay. I'll make sure I let people know you're okay. Like the put downs, the belittling, that kind of thing. It's like, don't listen to that. Let it ride in one ear, right out the other. And you're not being disrespectful. You're not doing anything. You're just being like, okay, I'm just going to let that ride, because if not, you're going to be charging up and going back into the chaos. If you're trying to prove yourself, if you're trying to prove to someone who's a narcissist or has incredible tendencies, you are just going to get lost in their shuffle and you're going to drown in them. And then you've lost yourself,
yep,
right? So by doing that, what you need to do then is make your expectations crystal clear. So it's resetting your expectations. Make sure they're crystal clear and they're known, right? So communicating your boundaries calmly, firmly, expressing consequences if your boundaries aren't respected. Now that means like saying things like, I'm not going to argue with you about this. I'm done with the conversation.
yep,
And walking, and then you can walk away, you can say, I'm going to walk away now. Now I have I have people who will say they follow me. And you have to
yep,
say, If you follow me, I'm going to do X." Now here's the big part of this. If you say you're going to set an expectation of behavior is equal to this consequence, you must follow through.
yep,
It is just like being with a child, teaching them about, don't do that again. This is like for the parents. This is how narcissists get born. Don't do that again, or else you're going to have your phone taken away. The phone never gets taken away. Guess what? Now we have narcissistic injuries being built, but we have no consequence, and so therefore we have no follow through and nothing to follow. Nothing to be
right.
grasping onto. Same thing. You're
There's no
dealing with,
consequence attached to the action.
right. So when you set an expectation, it's, if you do this, I will do that. If you do this, I will do that. Now, it doesn't always have to be spoken either.
Right.
It can be very much about someone does a behavior, you can just look at them and go, "Hmm, okay." In your own head, you can do it in your head bubble, like, I would normally participate in this, but I will not participate in this. Now, you can state that out loud and say, I will not participate in this, or you can just bypass it and just be like, hmm, okay, heard, in your
Yep,
head, like, I'm not doing this, because you know where it's going to go. Because when you have a healthy unexpectation, when you have unhealthy expectations, um, you end up having such a challenging time about being able to uh, accept that a person's not going to change, because you
right.
become a hopeaholic. So you have to get out of the hopeaholic mode, that if I do all these things, it's going to change him or her. And that's not true. And remember, I do focus more on men, because 75% of men are more MPD than women. Not to say that women aren't, but it's you create more challenge for you when um, that the person isn't going to change and that
Right.
you have an unhealthy expectation. Um, next one, avoid emotional confrontation. Um, Narcissists love emotional confrontation. They love the charge that they get. And I have people all the time ask me, why would someone like that? Are you kidding me? Why? Are they aware that they do that? No, they're not aware that they do that because it's so familiar to them. It's so normal for them
Yep.
that confrontation is likely how they grew up in fighting in the house, in their own house, or to get what they need, they had to do that. So narcissists often thrive on conflict to maintain their homeostasis, to maintain their level of control, and to shift blame onto you. So instead of engaging in some kind of crazy fight with them, right? You want to focus on disengaging, detach, and just be like, I'm not part of this fight. Stick to facts, right? That's not my experience. That may be yours, but that's not my experience. Um, Recognize that if you're fighting, it's going to lead to more fighting.
Yep.
It's going to lead to you being put in a position as the other side of being probably suppressed. And if you, even with facts, you know, you're not there to debate them. You're just there to say, like, hey, this thing just happened. That actually hurt my feelings. And the person that's a narcissist will say, no, it didn't.
Yeah.
If you debate, yes, it did, and they say, no, it didn't, back and forth, you're into their supply chain, right? So if you say it hurt my feelings, they say, no, it didn't. You say, well, my experience is different than yours. And that's it. Because you want to get, I call it gap stopping. You
Yep.
want to give them a gap stop so that the cycle of the figure eight of the chaos stops. They won't have anything else to say. If they do, it will probably be a topic jump
Yep.
because it's like, okay, I have nothing else to say on that, so let me find another thing to bait
Stop
you with.
trying to bring them into reality. Just like accept that you have two different realities.
Exactly. And you don't have to explain that to them. You can just say,
Right.
well, it's not my experience.
Yep.
And that usually stops them from speaking. We do have a compelling need oftentimes as people, as human beings, to be like, oh my God, they didn't say anything to that. It's a normal person, a normal person, a healthy person would say, oh my gosh, I hurt your feelings. No, not a narcissist. Narcissist doesn't want to acknowledge that they hurt your feelings because that makes them angry, because that makes them imperfect. You often will get people that will say, well, I'm not perfect like you are. Now, the snarkiness in people will say, well, you're right. You're not. Right. But it's like, or they'll defend themselves and say, I never said I was perfect. Don't do that. It's like,
Yep.
okay, if whatever you're saying, mhm. And you're not doing whatever as in a blow off dismissive thing. You're doing it as in like, I'm just not participating in this fight. Um, so and that's part of like don't take their behavior personally, right? Narcissist behavior is all about them and not you. And so avoiding internalizing their comments, their criticisms, their attempts to blame you, all those things is important because it deflects it off of you, and then you're like, because it's not you, because it will make you crazy made, which that's gaslighting. It's the gaslighting that comes from, like, you tell them something, they defend against it, you now become their perpetrator and they become a victim, and then you feel bad because, oh, I did something to hurt them. Well, you wait a second ago you were the person in the hurt
Right.
position,
Yep.
and now they've made you feel like you did something wrong because you called them on their bad behavior, and now you're explaining for it.
That's the tactic, turning around on you. Yep.
Yes. So, and we call that darvoing, right? They deny it that they did it. They then attack you. They reverse victim, become the victim, and now you're the offender. So, don't do that.
Don't
Um,
try to change them, but don't try to change
right,
their perspective. Don't try to change their opinion. Don't try to,
right.
because it's fruitless.
It's fruitless. Exactly. So here's some things for besides that. So educating yourself. I there's so many podcasts, books, um, TikTokers that are actually really good because they're doctors and people in science and like life coaches out there. Not all, but there's some really good ones.
Yep.
Educate yourself on truly what narcissism is. There's such misnomers out there about what narcissism is, and it's overused in a wrong way. So really educate yourself on what narcissism and gaslighting is, and so that you don't overuse it and you understand when and if you're being gaslit. Um, uh, and then acknowledge to yourself that there's a problem and it's not you. Advocate for yourself. Notice it's all about you. So, wow, it's like the antithesis of the narcissistic being, because it's all about them, but in a very different way. So, advocating for yourself is not being a narcissist. It's about ignoring something that someone's doing, or simply walking away is the best and appropriate response. Picking your battles, right? Not dying on every bridge. Just being like, because
Isn't an important step to accept the reality of it, and accept that, again, that you're not going to change them, because any energy you put into trying to change them is wasted energy. It should be put into managing the way you deal with that reality.
exactly. And if you manage your reality by not blaming yourself, because if you're in a good solid narcissistic relationship, the blame will be heavily on you and you'll feel it, especially if you're a people pleaser. If you are very committed to, oh my gosh, it's me, and if it's like, well, but I'm doing this, and I must be participating. I have a client right now that's constantly telling me that she's like, well, but I know I have a part in it too, because she's been built so long, 20 something years, into feeling like it's her. And I'm like, uh-uh.
Hmm.
You know, that's not to say that she's not a part of it. She is. She participates because she enables the cycle, because she doesn't set boundaries, because
Right.
she doesn't, right?
Yeah.
So that's her part of it. And that's what I explained to her. I'm like, you are not doing anything wrong, but you are participating in the loop. You are participating in the chaos because you're not stopping it.
Right.
So you're not doing anything bad or wrong, but you're not also stopping where you could stop it. You can't change him or her, but you can change you.
You can stop feeding it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so there's that. So also finding ways to boost your self-esteem. That's why I say go get connected into things that give you a sense of self. Now, if you're in an abusive relationship and like you're in a controlled relationship where you're not allowed to do that, that's a bigger conversation to be having. But not that narcissistic abuse isn't abuse, but if you're in a traditional thought of abusive situation where you can't get out and do things for yourself to boost your self-esteem, we have a different clinical talk. But in general, boosting your self-esteem by, you know, going and finding more friends, joining a class, getting out more and doing things, taking your own time for yourself, doing things separately, don't go away on a weekend vacation together only to do the same thing you do that you do at home. Go do it yourself. A lot of people have a hard time sitting with themselves. So that would be the first step, is try to find things that you can start small to sit with yourself. Go to the movies by yourself. Go sit at lunch, or go to Starbucks, or go to Dunkin'. Sit somewhere by yourself and read or do something, so that you start building a level of independence that's not relying on the narcissist chain back and forth with you.
That's your basic contribution, right? In many of these cases, is that you are dependent on that relationship, and they depend on your dependency on that relationship.
Yes, it's the codependency is, I need you to need me to need you. And once they feel, once the narcissist believes and feels like you don't need to be needed, I don't need you to need me, they get very upset by that. And that's okay, because they're either going to change, which is unlikely, or they're going to go monkey branch. And you have to be okay with that. I've had people say to me, but I want them to leave me. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You'll get to the exhaustion point where it's like, it would be better if they left. So, um, uh, you have the right, and here's another protection for you to manage. You have the right that you have. I hate the word demand, but narcissists are great at planning for the future, but rarely will keep their promises. So you can hold people accountable by, just when they say we're going to do this, or we're going to, it's the future faking. Like, if you do this with me, I'll do that.
Yep.
Just ignore that and just say, If you don't show me that we're doing that, like, on paper right now, and it's not all bought and paid for, don't bother to talk to me about it." You
Yep.
have to be willing to not buy into the rhetoric of the false promises that they're giving you. Um, so here it is. don't justify with a narcissist, don't argue with a narcissist, don't defend and don't explain. Accept that they cannot change. This sounds very pessimistic, I know, but these are the things to protect you. And, obviously finding support.
Not pessimism, it's reality.
It is reality. And that's, and if you don't, and it's not the same in other relationships. This is just one of those types. And this is in friendships. And even when you're in coworker situations, this is why people leave their jobs a lot, is because they can't take the boss that's like this, right? Um, Cultivating empathy. Here's one. If you're staying, cultivating empathy without enabling. Um, it is possible to be empathetic without enabling someone. Um, but it's a skill that you're going to need to really work on, because empathy obviously is about not joining. And you have a propensity when you're with a narcissist to join them in their shit. That's how you get participation in the loop, right? So, because they've taught you how to treat them. And so you have to be able to step back, detach, and be like, I hear you. And that's unfortunate that you feel that way.
Yep.
And just be able to say, "Hmm, if you're an I'm sorry person, count how many times you say you're sorry." Because narcissists, that's a big supplier for narcissists, is when you say I'm sorry. When if you've done nothing wrong, even if you've been perceived and you think that someone thinks you've done something wrong, it's unfortunate that you feel that way, even though that can be a little bit off-putting to people. It's unfortunate that you feel that way, but if you know something's not been wrong, I'm not sorry.
Yep.
I'm not apologizing for something I don't need to apologize for, right? So treating them with empathy, respect, respecting yourself, communicating with clarity, boundaries. Don't feel like that you have to feed into their toxic behaviors. Know their toxic behaviors so that you know that what they are. Stand your ground. Don't move off your ground, because when you do, what will happen is oftentimes you'll go through these cycles, which I talked about. If you don't do all these self-protective things, they will loop back around and it will start all over. Like, okay,
Yep.
they don't like what you did. Then all of a sudden they become nice. And then they'll start right back at the start. Love bomb, breadcrumb, and then gaslight. And then it will loop back around. So you have to just know that the loop will come back around.
Just
And
when I thought I was out, they sucked me back in.
exactly. And so you just have to be very good at consistency of enforcing the boundaries, maintaining your own sense of self-identity and self-worth, and avoiding direct confrontation. And I can't say more about building a strong support system. Get one or two people in your life that know you're prioritizing yourself, that will help you and at least support you in the best way they can. um, and and that's important. Now, whether that's a support group, whether that's family, friend, people out in the world, a therapist, life coach, get yourself a support team so that you can have that. There's nothing wrong with that. A narcissist will tell you things like, oh, you have to go talk to your committee. Yes. Yep, I do. And you know what? My committee is good, because I'd rather have my committee than you.
Right.
In your head bubble, you're gonna say that because you don't wanna feed the narcissist. So
Yeah.
that's my third part of how to manage. Also, the last part is you can leave the relationship. You can quit the job, you can quit the friendship, and you can quit the marriage or the relationship.
Yep.
And you can walk it away. And most of the time, and many times, you do have to walk it away.
But building that self-esteem and building those boundaries are a good place to start.
Exactly. That's how you start it, because not everyone has to walk it away, but a lot of times you really do have to walk it away, you know?
Because they're not gonna change.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm, not on this one. No, and I know it sounds so discouraging, but it's just the way it is, unfortunately. You
But,
know?
you've made the analogy to addiction before, and it's just so similar because you can't get into their mindset, and they
Right.
can addicts are more likely to change than narcissists are
Exactly.
because
Exactly.
they'll hit rock bottom, like you said.
They'll hit rock bottom and they have a different sense of self-awareness.
Yeah, and narcissists do a lot of work to make sure that they never hit rock bottom,
It
including monkey branching.
well, that's how they do it. They always have a supply chain. I mean, I know many a narcissist in my life over my years, and I still know them, and because I have them peripherally in my life and some directly in my life still, and they survive because they monkey branch,
Yeah. And
right?
they're very skilled at what they do.
And it's interesting. So, an aside to that, I'm not one of the monkey branches in several of them, and I watch, but it's like it's interesting because they only come to me
There's a gap.
when there's a gap.
Yeah.
Right, and I know that. So that's why it's so important to educate yourself. So you have to be willing. You have to know if you're willing to jump in when there is a gap and know what you're doing, it's great. If not, then you'll get sucked back in. You just have to know where your gap is.
It's been a great series. Everyone should check out all 3 parts of the series.
Thank you very much. Yes, I hope everyone enjoys it. And if you missed the first 2, you can go back. And so you have like the setup of what it is, and then you have the middle part, and this is how to manage it. So, and now we will be leading in next week to the divine Thanksgiving holiday season and managing family.
Family. Yeah.
Hey, it was timely for narcissism.
Kind of a good lead in. Yeah. Good intro to it.
You have to go see Uncle Bob.
Yep.
Whoever it is that drives us crazy at the dinner table. But no, we're going to talk about just sort
Or
of.
skip Thanksgiving and go see Wicked, one or the other.
Oh, well, I'll be seeing Wicked starting next Monday. Oh, for sure. I'm starting next Monday. I get to go the pre.
Oh, nice.
I know. So, but yes, we will be talking actually about gratitude and the dopamine and serotonergic effects. That was a big word, of dopamine and the dopamine rush you get from gratitude and doing grateful, loving, wonderful
So
things.
important. It's an eye roll type of thing for most people, but it's the most important piece.
It's a brain protector. It's a neuroprotector of being gratitudinous. There's a wicked word, gratitudinous. and
Gratitudify.
and what'd you say?
Gratitudify.
Gratitudified.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my God, you've been watching Wicked. I love it. I can tell.
No.
Oh yes, yes. I could tell that was it. Oh, that
There's
was
a
it.
commercial. I don't know if it's AT&T or something that
Okay.
makes fun of the way they talk. So
Okay. Okay. You go
yeah.
with that, Lou.
Yeah.
I know I'm pulling you into Wicked.
Hey, I went to the first one. I'll go to the second one.
I know, but you had to ask me 2 weeks ago about the first one because you were like, "Oh, I missed that."
I missed stuff. Yeah, I missed
I
stuff.
know. I'm like, "You need to rewatch it."
Like I said, there was a lot of singing. I was distracted.
And what did I say to you? It's a musical.
I know. But there was a lot of singing.
I know, but it's the story. Oh, forget it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys, okay, so get ready because next week we're going to start talking about the holidays, and not the holidays as in the holidays, but the year of you, the month of you and me, in terms of gratitude and how it shapes the brain and how you can do things in the next part of the year as we come into 2026, about how to live your best life and walk into this new year amazing, because you've done so much work this year on the year of you. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you then.